All right. Thank you for joining. We're excited to share some insights and suggestions, recommendations, and some real world things that you guys can use in your business related to boosting the service and reliability of facilities management while reducing costs. So we've got our two stars of the day on with us today, Alex Walter. He is the Chief Innovation Officer for the A3J Group, and Ben Smith is an IBM customer success engineer here to walk you through this. We will have a Q&A function on the system, so you should be able to find the Q&A feature, ask questions. Feel free to put those in at any time, and we intend to loop back at the end and answer whatever questions you guys might have. So thank you for joining, and with that, I'll turn it over to Alex.
Yeah, thanks, Sterling. Happy to be here, and let's go ahead and get rolling. Looking at smarter facilities maintenance. So our agenda is going to be, we'll do some brief introductions. We'll talk about the state of what folks in facilities maintenance are facing today. Ben's going to dive into field service management, and then I'll touch on asset health and some condition-based maintenance events that you can take back to your Maximo environment today, and wrap it up with some questions. We are really kind of nerds, experts in API technology, integrations, mobile. I've been doing Maximo for quite some time. So let's jump into it. So the reason that we're here talking about a lot of this sort of smarter facilities maintenance is that we have challenges in the field that we're looking to address. And those challenges are numerous, but highlighting a few of them here, looking at reactive work and really trying to break the cycle of reactive work. We have labor shortages, tighter budgets and operational costs, and growing backlogs. And all of these things are contributing to that self-inflicting loop, really self-reinforcing of a reactive maintenance loop there. So when we look at some of the stats, the cost of reactive maintenance is obviously high, and it's probably not something that folks haven't heard of. But when you start to throw out things like 3 to 5 times higher cost of planned versus reactive, and a majority of technician time spent on non-work related tasks like travel time, waiting for parts, administrative tasks and such. And then you start to look at the cost of that holistically, it can be staggering. And so from our perspective, we're looking at this cycle and trying to figure out how to break it, right? So you're constantly in this loop of asset failures, being chased by emergency work orders, which then feeds into a lack of time available to do the backlog or regularly scheduled work, which results in deferred maintenance and right back into failures. So why are we still working this way? And it has to do with a lot of different factors, but I've highlighted a few of them here, between standardized workflows, labor shortages. But what Ben and I are going to get into today is those bottom two: disconnected systems and paper, right? Not having the ability to record real-time accurate data and feed that back into further our analysis. And then visibility into asset health, such that we're not doing things on a schedule when they don't necessarily need to be done. We're doing the right maintenance at the right time. And again, we'll get into that a little bit further today. So the good news with all this is that IBM Maximo provides a proven path forward. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Ben, and he'll dive into field service maintenance. So Ben, feel free to grab that screen and go for it.
All right. I want to talk a bit about Maximo's field service management tools. What Alex talked about was kind of touching on the asset management side of what Maximo has to offer. What we've spent doing building out some of our field service management tools is to add abilities for tracking and providing tools to manage the people and teams servicing those assets that you have. The operating model is changing. Enterprise assets are becoming smarter. Data is being leveraged for impact, and real-time monitoring is available. Adapting to these digital changes is essential for businesses to remain competitive, and the need for new innovation is more urgent than ever. So IBM is witnessing firsthand how clients are facing large turnover rates from newer technicians who may not be getting the support they need to be effective in their jobs. At the same time, the rate of expert technicians retiring is increasing. So asset management is complex with these experienced technicians retiring, new technicians coming on, and we're seeing companies struggle to attract the right skills at the right time. To replace the retiring and outgoing people with intrinsic knowledge, companies are having to hire and train new technicians, which costs 150% of an average technician's salary. During hiring and training phases, companies are forced to farm out work orders to third-party companies, which are charging something like 25% above what labor would usually cost for a company. And because these companies have new technicians or temporary technicians working on their assets, 20% of fixes fail the first time. So these are all the major concerns that we're looking to address with our field service management tools. So again, the major pain points that we've heard from our clients are inefficient scheduling and dispatching processes and tools, a lack of visibility between workers in the office and technicians in the field, and over-reliance on paper-based checklists and a lack of quality data or information on job sites. At the heart of Maximo Field Services Management is a simple but critical goal: to get the right person with the right skills, the right tools, at the right place and at the right time to do the job right the first time, cutting back on repeat work. So this is what the world-class field service execution looks like. It's what we're trying to enable our clients to achieve with Maximo Field Service Management. We'll break that down a bit into the more detailed components. So the right person is not just anyone available, but the person with the right skill set and the right role and the right certifications to handle the work. Right skills and qualifications, ensuring regulatory or safety requirements are met by assigning only qualified workers. Right parts and tools are integration with inventory to ensure technicians aren't delayed by missing materials. Right location, powered by location and mobile tools for routing and geolocation. Right time, optimize schedules and dispatching, idle time and customer impact. And first time fix. This is the big outcome that we're hoping to achieve. Maximo helping organizations increase their first time fix rate, which directly reduces cost and improves customer satisfaction. So we'll try to do all of this while optimizing operational costs with our AI tools. Maximo Manage module, it brings together intelligent mobile execution, real-time dashboards, and advanced optimization through Maximo Optimizer, and a new framework with 3 out-of-the-box models for planning, scheduling, and dispatching. Key features of Maximo FSM include mobile, which allows technicians to access work anytime and anywhere and keep that information even in offline situations. Spatial, allowing the visualization and management of people and assets in GIS mapping context. Scheduling dashboards help ensure the right resources are available and assigned to the right job. Dispatching dashboard provides visibility on how technicians are progressing on assigned work. And Optimizer brings AI into the mix, allowing for optimized scheduling and dispatching based on the criteria that meet your organization's needs. So let me walk you through a complete life cycle of a field service worker using IBM field service management tools, from the initial service request all the way through the execution and closure. So the journey begins with the initiate phase, where a customer logs a service request. This request is received by the service provider, who then creates a work order within Maximo. Right at this stage, Gen I capabilities can help suggest the most probable failure codes based on an asset history and symptoms, reducing diagnostic time. Technicians or planners can then define the tasks, required materials, the tools, and the labor needed to resolve the issue. Moving into the schedule phase, planners using the scheduling dashboard This offers comprehensive heat map view of all planned and in-progress work, clearly indicating areas of concern. Unscheduled resource load can be fixed. Optimization models can also come into play, considering the multiple business rules and KPIs to automate schedule generation and recommend the best possible resource allocations. Once schedules are set, we move to the dispatch phase, where dispatchers get visibility into all assigned and unassigned work through a real-time dashboard. They can assign technicians based on proximity, skill sets, availability, and even specific time windows. There's also an interactive timeline view to track technician progress throughout the day. For emergency work, intelligent recommendations ensure the right crew is dispatched instantly to minimize downtime. In the execute phase, technicians can use the Maximo mobile app to travel to the site and carry out the work. The mobile app is AI enabled and enhances productivity with features like work prioritization, geospatial mapping, and visual inspection through computer vision. If technicians face issues on site, they can tap into AR/VR remote collaboration tools to find probable fixes or connect with remote experts for live assistance. And then finally, we reach the closure phase. Once the job is complete, the technician logs actuals, time spent, materials used, and tools consumed through the mobile app. This automatically updates the work order. Both the service provider and the customer are notified of the job closure. A billing summary is generated, and all information is fed into reporting dashboards to track performance and ensure SLAs are met. This workflow showcases how Maximo FSM brings together automation, AI, mobility, and optimization to ensure field service teams are efficient, proactive, and always aligned with customer expectations. All right. Let me take a moment before I jump in. My mobile application is not letting me log in this morning. So I do want to highlight a few of those mobile capabilities through just a few of the screen shares. So in here, this slide highlights some of the mobile screens that a technician can view. This is a work order assignment. This screen allows, and I'm going to try and zoom in here. This allows a technician to view the details of the work order. In this screen, they can accept a job, reassign a job. They can look at the tools necessary that they should grab before they head out to a job site. They can look at any notes available to it. Using that geospatial intelligence integration, they can look where the job locations are. They can also look at checklists required to do the job. So this gives technicians a step-by-step task list that your organizations can build to complete those tasks. And then as they accept a job, they can log their time as they start and stop the job, and then see asset information as they work on the job, as you see below here. Excellent. Now I want to briefly show you inside Maximo itself, just so you can get an idea of what some of these tools look like and what the system would feel like on a day-to-day basis. So as I mentioned, these tools come with the Manage application. So we can log into the Manage application here. All right. So here we have a number of different planning and scheduling options here. The graphical work week is a work order based dashboard, scheduling 1 or 2 weeks as a short-term item. But as I navigate here, I can go into the graphical view. And as I said, this is work order based. We're seeing here in this grid view a list of different work orders that are being assigned. So the work order is here, the description is here, and you can see the status of those items over here. You can see the start date and end date assigned to this work order, and you can see the graphical view over here. You can adjust all of the views here. So columns can be moved around. You can switch things to meet your team's needs. You can add different columns, but this is true of all of the dashboards that we have in the system here. So looking through some more of these dashboards, we've got the graphical scheduling view. This is used by planners to schedule upcoming work for small projects and large projects. The difference between the scheduling and the large scheduling is a Gantt view. The large scheduling allows you to have a Gantt view of ordered operations and allows you to manage preceding tasks and dependent tasks based off of necessities, the different work being planned. Coming in below this is crew management. So this allows the managing and assignments of multidiscipline crews with different capabilities. The graphical assignment allows supervisors to manage dispatchers and assign labor to do different work. So again, this is the scheduling view. Scheduling and graphical assignment are requirements and prerequisites for the scheduling dashboard and the planning dashboard to be completed, utilized. So a scheduler would come in here and they would assign tasks based off of the work order, build out the schedule, and then they can use the optimizer tool to actually deliver that to the planning dashboard and scheduling dashboard. I'm going to switch back to the slide deck, the planning dashboard, but I do want to give you a highlight of what that dashboard looks like and some key components. We look through that. Excellent. So in here, we can see a quick view of the scheduling dashboard here. So you get a heat map view of the different components, people's schedules, and you can see the overhead line crew is green for availability. So it's color coded, and a lot of the aspects of these different dashboards and tools are color coded to allow quick assessment. You can see coming up on 50%, we've changed to orange. You can have red for overscheduled resources. You can dive into these through work cards. This optimizer tool is an example of the capabilities of easy task assignment and optimization requirement assignment. So you can say, do you want to match skills? Do you want to include calendar breaks, repair facility windows? Whatever requirements your company or organization has, you can set those within the optimizer and then have the optimizer tool manage those schedules based off of the prerequisites that you've established throughout the system. And this is just a little bit closer view of that. So enforcing different requirements that your organization has and letting that optimizer tool build out the different functionality and assignments that your schedules and dispatchers need. And that really helps to bring the automation and time savings to your team, so you're not in there manually doing workload. So those are some of the capabilities our field service management tools offer to different organizations. Happy to answer any questions at the end of the session that you may have and go into a deeper dive on a lot of these different functionalities. Any of you have questions. So with that, Alex, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it. All right. We'll jump back over to some of the slides. So I want to talk a little bit about asset health and condition-based maintenance and why that matters. A lot of folks get asked the question, how do they know that their preventive maintenance program is actually working? The answer typically comes in some sort of flavor or form of, well, we're doing less corrective work than we had in the past. So that means our preventive work is working. And that's not always a good indicator but it's not always the full picture indicator of whether a preventive maintenance program is working or not. Just because an asset hasn't failed in the past X amount of time doesn't mean it won't fail tomorrow. And so to expand upon, is our preventive maintenance program working? We introduced the concept of asset health. So from an asset health perspective in Maximo, we have as part of the suite now, the Maximo Health application. And what it does is it combines all of the different factors that go into calculating an actual health score on an asset by asset basis. So you can really develop your own scoring system, your own weighting system based on various indicators such as number of work orders, maybe meter readings that have come in, various different contributors to the health of an asset will result in a singular score that you can then rank and prioritize assets based on. So if you look at an asset at a glance, you can see here that it's coming up with a scoring sheet between 0 and 100, with 100 being a good score, perfect score for an asset, and 0 being the worst score asset can have. So by doing that, obviously we can gain some color coding here. Ben was indicating a quick glance, green is good, yellow is average, red is critical. When we're talking about condition-based maintenance, a lot of organizations have time-based maintenance. The simplest mechanism for setting up preventive maintenance records, you put it on a schedule, and on that schedule, the maintenance will come due, you perform the work, and then you wait for that next cycle. And so in doing so, that on my 60th birthday, the doctor said it's time for your heart transplant. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Why don't we run some tests first and make sure that I actually need that heart transplant rather than just scheduling it at 60 years living. A similar type thing for maintenance is trigger for time-based maintenance is on a fixed calendar interval. But for condition-based maintenance, let's run some tests. Let's understand what some of those leading indicators of failure are. And even if we can't get to the most top indicator, just switching from time to run hours as a small step and being able to understand how often has this machine or equipment run gets us better indicators of how much wear and tear and when we should start to schedule our maintenance. For your car, you could do it every 6 months or every 5,000 miles. With that trigger, what that tells you is approach then changes to we're scheduling, get a signal from an IoT device, from a SCADA system, or from manual inspection that was done. Now we take action based on the results of those signals. And so costs and outcomes become, rather than waste time and material on healthy assets, we're targeting spend where we find anomalies, and that helps target not just the best time to do maintenance, but helps save the maintenance where necessary. So as far as how this works inside of Maximo, we connect to various sensors, and that data comes in and can get triggered based on condition monitoring in Maximo. The scores get updated as some of these meter readings come through, and then alerts get generated and ultimately action taken. So with that, we'll jump into Maximo here. Okay, so operational dashboards are a start center in Maximo. If I click on my asset manager role from a dashboard perspective, I can see alerts where the asset has low health and just generally assets that have low health, as well as some KPIs and other alerts that need my attention. Well, we're going to jump into the assets and locations application, which is part of Maximo Health, in order to just take a look at particular assets that have health scores assigned to them, what we need to do. I'm going to search for an asset. It's a pump. And you can see here, based on the scoring system and metrics that we have set up for this pump, we have a 53.8% health rating, 25% criticality, and rather low risk there. So how is that calculated? So if we're looking at the health score of 53.8, we have a few different contributors, and those contributors are pretty much evenly distributed weight-wise for us. Remaining useful life is RUL, how many open corrective work orders that we have against equipment, how many open service requests. And each one of those gives you a particular score, and that score is then evenly weighted and translated into that 53.8% health score. We can flip over to criticality and see it's just looking at the priority listed on the asset, and that's 100% of the contributor. And then from a risk perspective, you can see the calculation being driven here to calculate a risk score, which is the health driver times the criticality driver. So how can you leverage this tool? A few things come up, there's an application called Score Settings. And what we can do is create a scoring group. That scoring group, health, criticality, and risk associated with it. And if you click into there, you can see the contributors for that scoring group. So what scoring types are there? We have good, fair, and poor. And you can really set up additional ranges, outcomes here. But I want to dig into the contributors. So Maximo Health comes with many different out-of-the-box contributors. You can see here they've got the open CM work orders, open SRs, remaining useful life. But beyond that, there's even meter reading contributors. So you can set up different formulas based on meters, operating conditions, and so forth. So you can leverage some of the out-of-the-box ones or create your own contributor to evaluate different meter readings, work order statistics, tickets, etc. And then once you have that, you can set up thresholds, and those thresholds can use to trigger alerts as well as generating work orders. So you can see we've got a MTBF threshold here where if that MTBF threshold exceeds 5,000 hours, then we get a green check mark there, red if it doesn't meet the threshold, and warning otherwise. So lots of different capabilities here for you to really develop a scoring system such that you can understand on an asset by asset basis for all of your different asset types what the health of that asset is. And that, again, that gives you much better visibility into how your maintenance program is operating and where to focus your attention and activity. Another thing I wanted to point out is the reliability strategies application. Each of these are relatively new as far as the suite goes, but can be taken advantage of for anybody that runs Maximo in the application suite. These are two, the health and reliability strategies applications are two that most companies can take advantage of. They don't require additional installation-based app points to leverage. So the reliability strategy application comes with a series of libraries for different types of assets. So I can choose, let's do an air handling unit. I can pick a specific configuration. Assets come with libraries that have different configurations on them. The air handling unit just has a single one. But we can look at what all of this includes. It gives you what the air handling unit bounding box is. And there are some of these strategies that say what it excludes, where boundary of this equipment ends here and it does not include certain elements. So if we click on failure modes, you can see the different failure modes for an air handling unit. So if we click into the control air supply, we have a broken failure mechanism with personnel error and vibration, also have a clogged with dirt here. So if you look at what the recommendations are over here for a vibration perspective, here are some activities and what effectiveness those activities might have. Different failure modes might have different activities that you can do. You can see here from air supply contamination, calibration would have a high effectiveness. A library of how equipment fail in general, and what are some mitigation activities that we can take to alleviate those failures. And if we get into the mitigation activities section here, you can control, hey, is this asset critical or minor? If we say minor, is cycle high or low, and is the service condition severe or mild? Basically, as I'm changing some of these elements here, it's recommending different frequencies for different activities, and even suggesting what some of the job plan details are. So you can come in and see, based on different failure modes, what vibration analysis can do from an effectiveness perspective. So great library of, I get a lot of questions from folks asking me, how do we establish a better PM program? And Maximo is shipping with more and more to help us with that. And reliability strategies is a great resource there. Beyond that, from standard Maximo, we also have condition monitoring. So jumping into that, you have the ability to define as meter readings come in for particular assets. In this case, we have an outlet pressure monitor with an upper action limit of 5,500 PSI and a lower action limit of 3,200 PSI. Here you have the ability to define a particular job plan or a particular PM to fire if and when that upper action limit is reached or breached from a threshold perspective. Same thing at the lower end. And this would just trigger work orders to happen as readings come into the system. So if you've got your Maximo connected to Aviva Pi, you can have Pi readings come in. And those could just be run hours, could be for temperature or vibration, and in which case you would set up these high and low end bands tied to those gauge type meters in order to trigger work. So that's what I had from a show and tell perspective from asset health and condition-based maintenance. With that, I'll switch over back to the presentation. And I think that's pretty much the end of the slideshow. So we'll pause here, Sterling, open it up for some questions.
Thank you, Alex. Ben, we haven't had any questions in the chat yet. We've got about 2 minutes left in our meeting time. So we do have some time here for questions. So if anybody has anything that you'd like to bring up with the presenters, feel free to type that in now and I'll read those out.
I have a staged question. Question I get asked a lot is, how do I get started? Step one, what's one thing I can do immediately? And a lot of times what I would suggest is to take advantage of health and reliability strategies. They're two applications in Maximo. You don't have to do anything with reliability strategies. It's simply a library that you can click through and learn and understand. So there's no action that you need to take. You just need to install it and browse the library, understand what it's telling you. And from a health perspective, it's the same thing. You can install it. You've got to go through and understand what weights and contributing factors are, but you can start with the simplest thing. How many open corrective work orders do I have against a given asset? Start to make scores and then refine it over time. So out of the box tomorrow.
I will go ahead and wrap up the webinar. Thank you very much to our speakers for preparing and presenting that content. Both Ben and Alex have their contact information that has been included as part of the invitation. So if you guys would like to reach out to them, they're both on LinkedIn and happy to connect, as am I. Anything is needed or follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. With that, presenters, and have a great rest of your week. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thanks.